when you're hanging a ceiling mural or any mural, but in particular a ceiling mural. What's different about a ceiling mural that may not be an issue with walls? Well, I'm going to tell you the issue is light. I cannot tell you how much this light will require perfection on the ceiling. Now, if this window were not here and you only had this one, I would say your ceiling doesn't have to be perfect. But when you have this much light coming in, you want to make it absolutely perfect.
Friends, thank you for watching my channel. I just want to remind you, if you need wallpaper, go to www.wallpaperboulevard.com. Tell them Spencer sent you. In fact, if you use my hashtag, Spencer Colgan is wallpaper, they'll be sure to give you a 10% off at your checkout. No matter how much you order, they have a wide selection of wallpaper. Check it out. Tell them I said hello and enjoy your discount.
You want to get right against that tape. And of course you want your trim to be protected too. So our sander gets within, let's say, 1/4 of an inch. But you want to get right in there. You want to get right up against that edge. What looks like perfection right now may not look like perfection when you hold your light up to it. If you want perfection and you want to get rid of any slight imperfections, you're going to have to employ the use of a strong lamp to hold at a low angle against your ceiling or your wall. You can see a lot of things without the light. Isn't it true? I strongly advise you to use a light. After you're satisfied that your ceiling or wall is 100%, you want to seal your compound now. And so I strongly advise that you use guards, G-A-R-D-Z, an excellent product from Zinsser. G-A-R-D-Z. It sells in the continental United States for about $40 to $45 a gallon. I know it's a lot, but you know what? Guards works all the time when you're compounding. If this were not compound and you were just going over an already painted surface, you want to use Clear Shields, S-H-I-E-L-D-Z, another product from Zinsser. Or you could use Roman 999. With your customer, you determine what part of the mural you want up along which side of the room. After you determine that, you have to then you have to manually label. We leave this on top panel 1. You see this arrow here? If you should get confused and forget that you're going this way, you may install this way, and this edge will not meet panel number 2. That's a troubling mistake. So before you put this up, you want to lay it out face down, just like this, where you can't see the design. And you want to number them, and write on them 1, 2, 3, 4. And Limitless Walls will give you an image of the mural so that you know what's under here. So this is our top piece. So it actually has to be, when we present this to the ceiling, it has to be on the top of our folded wallpaper. And so we're going to start from here, folding it, keeping the top above all the other folds. We're going to make about 4 folds in this thing. Let me show you what I mean. So,
yeah, the 3 bears, yes.
you see what I mean?
Yeah. You saw it?
Holding the whole thing together. Of course, we don't make any creases in it. So now you can see how the wallpaper has to be presented when it gets to the ceiling. Just like that. If this were hanging, this would be an onerous task to hold this up. All the weight is directed in this one little concentrated area. If it's hanging, it's pulling on something, and it becomes unbearable to hold up. What we're going to do now is take the tube, if I can find it, from which the wallpaper was purchased, to put it under the width of the wall covering, to hold that as a support. Because as I hold it with one hand and begin to install with the other, what happens is it collapses around my hand. It makes it almost impossible to get onto the ceiling. So if you don't have the tube, if it didn't come in a tube, you can take another sheet of the wallpaper, roll it up really tight, cover it, and use that as a support for your wall covering. All right? I'll see you on the next frame. I used the tape from the manufacturer to tape this side. It will not pull off the back end. And I'm just going to use this as my support. Now you have a better idea what I'm talking about. See? It's the perfect width, and it's going to help me install this. If I used my hands, watch what happens. Can't do it, right? Now, after you've proportioned all of the sheets, you need to know where your seams are going to fall.
You want to employ the use of either a chalk line, or in this case I'm using a laser line. That's simulating the edge of the first sheet. That's going to tell me where the edge of my first sheet should fall.
Good, but you have to make sure that the first panel will give you enough wallpaper at the end. If you start this panel off and you have 8 inches of waste over here, well then you blew it. You absolutely blew it. So despite what your customer says, you have to make sure you have enough wallpaper. But let's say the customer says, I don't want this part in it. I want it to start here. Well, you have to go with that. But then you have to measure. This is where my first piece ends. This is where my second sheet ends. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Uh-oh, you tell your customer, no, I don't have enough wallpaper. You have to be careful that doesn't happen to you. Do you know what I mean? You have to take a measurement before you start of the entire wall. Let's say you got 150 inches wide. Well, if your mural covers 162 inches and you exceed 12 inches of waste, you're going to fall short. So sometimes we have to tell the customer, no. I had a mural recently. The customer said, no, don't overlap it. And I said, oh, no, you have to overlap it. It's an overlap mural. most murals are overlapped. She said, no, butt them seams together. I said, please, you really, you don't understand. You can't do that. So sometimes you have to gently tell the customer that they don't know what they're talking about, to be plain and simple.
So you could try to do this alone, or you can get a helper. The helper in this case is holding the wallpaper as close to the ceiling as possible. It's very hard to keep your hands up for a long time. But what you're seeing me doing behind him is just lining up the sheet of wallpaper with the laser line. Folks, after that, it's pretty easy. If you have strong arms, you could do this alone. But it's good to have a helper. It makes the job go a lot easier. So I'll walk you through the first sheet, and then we'll fast forward on the other sheets. The helper is holding up the wall covering. I'm taking flap by flap and just aligning it up against that laser. The first sheet has to be on the money. If so, all of the other sheets will follow suit. What I'm doing is gently pushing out any air pockets that may be in the wall covering as I go along. It's very important that you don't overhandle the wall covering. Here's why. It wants to fall down on you. You put it on the ceiling. If the helper is not keeping the wall covering close to the ceiling, he's pulling the wallpaper down. If his hands aren't up, which is very strenuous on the body, then he's pulling it down. If he's pulling it down, he's wasting time and you're getting air pockets, etc. So there has to be a lot of breaks in this procedure where the helper can rest his arms. See, I told him rest your arms here because I want him to be 100% when he takes that wallpaper into his hands again. So you can see how you can do this alone. All I'm doing is pushing it along as my helper is moving me on the scaffold. And there you see from a side angle. It's not that difficult, is it? You need to put a sufficient amount of paste on this wall covering so that it sticks. You see the gravity looking to pull it down, right? So you don't want to over paste it, but you certainly don't want to have it where it's half dry. So now the second sheet will go up just like the first, and we have a 2-inch overlap on this wall mural. You see how the edge of the wallpaper that we're installing is overlapped onto the sheet that's already up? Well, what I advise you to do if you're doing a wall mural or a ceiling mural is to, especially a ceiling mural, if you're only doing it for the first time, what you would like to do to make it go quicker is to establish a laser line on the, as you're looking at your screen, you see the elbow of the helper? You want a laser line right there on that edge of the wallpaper we're installing. Why is that? Because it will tell you where the wall covering should fall. So if you have it lined up properly, meaning from top to bottom, which is between me and my helper, I'm at the top, he's toward the bottom. If you have it lined up properly with the pattern on the first sheet, well, all you really have to do now is just simply follow a constant line that keeps your wall covering straight. If you do that, your pattern's going to line up 99%, and then you just push it together to make it 100% after it's all up. It could take too long if you're just up there trying to hang that wallpaper onto this pattern. So you would make it go quicker if you just gave yourself a chalk line, a snap line, or a laser. What I'm doing here now is the double cut. So the pattern is overlapping 2 inches, right? So we have to make our double cut. And that is, we're going to cut through our overlap, through our underlap, creating our own manufacturer's seam. That's the way they do it with murals. You overlap them, and then you have to cut through the overlap, making your own seam. And so I'm using a 10-inch DeWalt taping knife as a guide. But you might say, why don't you use a laser level, Spencer? Well, if you're consistently 1/4 of an inch from the edge, which is constant, the edge is constant, if you just keep your DeWalt 10-inch taping knife, which is what you see in my hand right there, if I keep it consistently 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of that overlap, won't I have a straight cut? That's all you want to do. And so you see me carefully cutting through, overlap and underlap, against the DeWalt taping knife. Now, if you don't think you can keep your hand straight, by all means, put a laser line on it, and then cut against that laser line using a guide, of course. But that's the way I do it.
You want to make your double cut as soon as possible. On commercial vinyl, you can wait. Some guys wait till the next day. Please take it from my experience. If you leave this for an hour or two, you will have a permanent stretch mark and depression in the wallpaper that's overlapped onto the overlap. It's stretched. It's sat too long. You gotta get it right away. It would be best if you put a laser line to guide you, unless you trust that you're making a nice straight line. You can sometimes use your pattern to do that. In this case, we can't, obviously. We have all dark spaces. And when you hang wallpaper for a living, your overlap cut is always the same. So you're always used to seeing that space, and so it's always consistent. But if you're new at it, please put a laser on it or snap a line, do whatever you gotta do. But don't just freehand it, especially on a ceiling. See, I'm not a righty. I'm gonna scoot over. Don't mind me. I'll get over there. Good. Okay. Really dark in here. So folks, please, you understand what I mean. I'm not a fan. Okay, that looks nice. So, now here's what I was talking about. Can you see through the camera this edge here? Can you see this? You see this line here? It's got to be visible in the light. You see this? You see the ridge that has formed? Okay, we want to get rid of that as soon as possible. I mean, look, don't rush and get hurt, but get it out of there ASAP. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Now, how long do you think this paper can be wrapped around this? Picture putting a pillow under a comforter. You're going to see the bump, right? Gently slide the pillow out. What remains? A loose bedding, right? A loose comforter. Why is that? Because your pillow stretched the material upward. Not permanently. But if you wait and you delay this thing, folks, I'm trying to give you all of my mistakes. If you want a perfect installation, do it this way. Trust me. Learn from Uncle Spencer, who made all the mistakes that you're going to make, so you don't have to make them. Now, gently push the wallpaper back into place. Nice and easy. We're going to roll our scene after this. We have a lot to do before we do that. We got to get this thing in place and get that crease out of it. Can't leave that there. So we got to work it. We got to work it. Okay, I'll have my cameraman move me. He's also my mover. Go ahead. There you go. There you go. There you go. Nice and nice. Keep going. See that? We're treating it with water. Okay. Okay, good. Very good. Very good. All I got to do is move my paper over here. If you're seeing the seam, it's because it's just got to be moved over, but there is no ridge. So if you're hanging a Limitless Walls mural, don't leave it up there any more than 30 minutes. Okay? Any more than that, you're going to start seeing a ridge. Okay, I'll see you on the next frame. You want to make your double cut as soon as possible. On commercial vinyl, you can wait. Some guys wait till the next day. Please take it from my experience. If you leave this for an hour or two, you will have a permanent stretch mark and depression in the wallpaper that's overlapped onto the overlap. It's stretched. It's sat too long. You got to get it right away. It would be best if you put a laser line to guide you, unless you trust that you're making a nice straight line. You can sometimes use your pattern to do that. In this case, we can't, obviously. We have all dark spaces. And when you hang wallpaper for a living, your overlap cut is always the same. So you're always used to seeing that space, and so it's always consistent. But if you're new at it, please put a laser on it or snap a line, do whatever you got to do. But don't just freehand it, especially on a ceiling. See, I'm not a righty. I'm gonna scoot over. Don't mind me. I'll get over there. Good. Okay. Really dark in here. So folks, please, you understand what I mean. I want to show you something, okay? Now the quality of the mural is really good, but it's only paper. It's thick paper. So if you leave this paper overlapped while it's paste soaking, you just caused a crease. Hold on. You caused a crease in the overlap piece. So obviously we don't want to do that. Okay. Okay, you know what I mean. Sorry, it's a nail biter. When you're up here and the mural's got to be perfect, it becomes a nail biter. Okay. I don't recommend using metal, but some men do. When I say men, I mean paper installers. I'm not talking about a gender. Some folks. I'm not a fan of it, especially on this metal, because if you move it too much, you can scratch the color right off. So you go easy. But I want something firm, and that's all I have in my pocket right now. Okay. That looks nice. Okay, so now here's what I was talking about. Can you see through the camera this edge here? Can you see this? You see this line here? It's got to be visible in the light. You see this? You see the ridge that has formed? Okay, we want to get rid of that as soon as possible. I mean, look, don't rush and get hurt, but get it out of there ASAP. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Now, how long do you think this paper can be wrapped around this? Picture putting a pillow under a comforter. You're going to see the bump, right? Gently slide the pillow out. What remains? A loose bedding, right? A loose comforter. Why is that? Because your pillow stretched the material upward. Not permanently. But if you wait and you delay this thing, folks, I'm trying to give you all of my mistakes. If you want a perfect installation, do it this way. Trust me. Learn from Uncle Spencer, who made all the mistakes that you're going to make, so you don't have to make them. Now, gently push the wallpaper back into place. Nice and easy. We're going to roll our seam after this. We have a lot to do before we do that. We got to get this thing in place and get that crease out of it. Can't leave that there. So we got to work it. We got to work it. Okay, I'll have my cameraman move me. He's also my mover. Go ahead. There you go. There you go. There you go. Nice and nice. Keep going. See that? We're treating it with water. Okay. Okay, good. Very good. Very good. Oh. All I gotta do is move my paper over here. If you're seeing the seam, it's because it's just gotta be moved over, but there is no ridge. Time of the essence. When you're working on a ceiling, please, if you want it perfect, make sure you don't put too much paste. Make sure you don't put too little paste. If you press on it and you create a void, too much. If you press on it and you make a little dimple in it, just right. If you press on it and you can't see any displacement of glue, not enough paste. If your mural dries out because you're up there taking too much time, take it off the ceiling, come down here, repaste it, okay? I'll see you on the next frame. Like I said earlier, please do your double cut as quickly as possible. Let me just show you a little trick. It's not a trick, but it's something that I learned. Let's say your knife is running crooked when you get to the end. Here's what you do. Instead of holding it flat against the ceiling or the wall, watch this. It'll stay straight. You see what I did? So if your knife runs away from your edger, just do this. It'll stay in place. That's your tip for the day. Bring them in close, zoom it in. Zoom, zoom. Oh, zoom. I had a helper once. Every time he messed up, I said, "Why did you do that? You're supposed to do this." He'd say, "Oh, oh." So I got tired of hearing it, so I wouldn't tell him when he made a mistake. Oh. Oh. Everything was oh. Oh. Oh.
Does not want to cooperate whatsoever.
I gotta tell them something.
Okay.
So this helper I was telling the viewers about, he was helping me on a job where I was using a drywall sander on a ceiling. I was texturing a ceiling. So he's pushing me around on the scaffold. So he suffered from a severe lack of intelligence. To put it nicely, I'm not trying to be funny. He lacked, and what is intelligence? It's the ability to perceive what's going on. You know? So anyway, I told him, I'll tell you what direction to go in on the scaffold. So I'd go like this, because there was a lot of noise. The fans were going, so I would go like this. So he'd go this way, I would go this way. Oh. So one time, after messing up 4 times, about 4 times, I said, he went, I said, "Now that's just the stupidest thing I have ever heard you do. What is this? How can you do this?" I'm telling you the truth. You're laughing on camera, you watching this, but it happened. He goes, I said, "What's this? How can we go in this, like this?" I love him. I don't have him help me anymore. Can't. Another helper told me, "You know, you ought to send him back to New York." So I was about to tell her to mind her business. So I said, "Why do you say that?" She says, "Well, he causes you a lot of distress and it interferes with your peace." I said, "You know what? You're right." And I never had him back down to Florida. Oh. Everything, oh. Come on, man. So that's the story of my life. Some people say that's mean. Well, you try to be on the scaffold while you got some guy who doesn't know what this means. Okay? You try that. See how mean you get. All right. Please, I'm going to show them how to lay the seam down on a Limitless Walls mural. It is not with a seam roller. Do not do it with a seam roller. You're going to do it with water. Okay, let's do it. You will not be using this. Okay, let's do it. Push me over, please.
Keep recording?
Please, push me over. Come on.
I should pull
Keep
you
it rolling.
around.
Keep it rolling. Yeah, just so the viewers know. OSHA guidelines, when you're on a scaffold, you pull, not push. Okay, no problem. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to have it on mist. Nice and easy. Nicey nice. Oh, come on, man. There you go. You know what I love about being on camera? If I mess up, I don't publish the video.
It's true though.
I wouldn't do that. That's how you do a Limitless Walls seam. Number one, cut it right away. Number two, don't use a seam roller. By the way, if you want a good deal at Limitless Walls for one of your murals, tell them I sent you and they will charge you 20% more. Just make sure you tell them I sent you. I'm always calling them. Keep going. Keep going. Come on, we look like the Keystone Cop. Wah! Keep going. Keep going.
Well, this is difficult.
That's all right, dude. Don't get my camera wet. Nicey nice. All right, folks. I think you get the idea. Don't overwork your wallpaper. Remember, it's drying. And if you did a good job on your skim coat, trust your stuff. Let the wallpaper shrink onto the ceiling. Don't overwork it. All right, folks, we're down to the last sheet. You see me install this. By the way, every time one of my customers calls me, I say, as they're talking, I say, well, I was voted the #1 wallpaper installer in the state of Florida. Oh, great. And I say, by my family and friends, and they don't hear it. So I just let it go. That's why they should listen. They're like, really? That's great. I'm like, yep. It's not lying. You know? My kids think I'm great. They should listen up. Wouldn't you agree? I told that to a woman. She goes, really? I felt bad. I was like, yeah. A little. It's all right. Don't worry about it. Really? I am amazed. I went out to eat recently, minding my own business. Some guy comes up to me, Spencer! Spencer, I'm like, do I know you? You do the wallpaper! I start looking around like, get out of here, man. Yeah, you do the wallpaper! Crazy people. Yeah, I do the wallpaper, man. What's wrong with you? You're the guy. Yeah. We already established that, man. I'm the guy. Get out of here. That happened to me in Chicago. You're the guy. Trying to have my favorite chicken colored Parmesan in a place, oh my gosh, right off of Lake Michigan. Very nice. I forget the name of the place. But the guy's like, you gotta be kidding me, babe. This is Spencer. He's I kid you not. Okay, see you on the next stream.